as new ones from different countries and institutions. I would also like to congratulate Cagamas on its 35th anniversary since its as the National Mortgage Corporation in 1987. Cagamas has reached a number of significant milestones. We've looked at for example, its various products and solutions, such as the purchase with recourse, the PWR, purchase without recourse, PWR, scheme Rumah Pertamaku, and more recently, scheme Saraan Berjaga, have supported broader access to home ownership and contributing to national development. It is also worth noting that Cagamas has made significant contributions to the secondary mortgage market, Islamic finance, and is now transitioning to green financing. With its successful business model, Cagamas has also become a source of reference across many developing countries looking to develop their own housing market. Ladies and gentlemen, the world we know today is changing rapidly, including Malaysia. Recently, we have seen frequent and extreme weather events happening all over the world. Heat waves as well as floods. So homes were destroyed, crops ruined, shipping activities disrupted, and lives lost. Just like the pandemic, the most vulnerable groups are the least able to bear the consequences. So closer to home, the December floods we experienced last year resulted in 50 deaths, 400,000 people being displaced from their homes, and losses estimated around 6 billion ringgit. This indicates, despite our progress as a nation, we are still vulnerable to the effects of climate change. Moreover, it has actually impeded Malaysia's post-pandemic recovery. As such, building and ensuring the resilience of our physical infrastructure has become both a moral and economic imperative and key to ensuring our people's resilience. Statistics have shown that the transition to a sustainable and climate-resilient economy is no longer a nice-to-have, but a must-do that makes for sound socio-economic policy. So this is evident by, first, ESG assets are on track to exceed $53 trillion by the end of 2025, accounting for more than a third of the projected total assets. Second, the development upside of the ESG transition. According to the ILO, the fields of energy efficiency, renewable energy, and green mobility could create up to 100 million new jobs by 2030. Third, transforming urban centers into green and connected cities presents a $185 billion upside by 2030 in Southeast Asia region. This is according to a report by Bain & Co. and Temasek. Therefore, we need to ramp up efforts and seize this opportunity to rebuild a more sustainable economy. Ladies and gentlemen, Malaysia has one of the fastest urbanization rates in Southeast Asia and has become one of the region's most urbanized countries. In 2020, 77% of the country's population have lived in urban areas or cities, up from 34.2% in 1980. It is estimated that by 2040, approximately 85% of the total population will live in urban areas as migration from rural to urban centers continues to increase due to economic and employment opportunities. As a result, future developments must meet the demands of a rapidly growing urban population. We must be mindful that a world in which only a few people can afford to live is unsustainable. Everyone deserves a safe place to live, and it can improve the lives of individuals and families. Today, however, most cities around the world face significant challenges in providing safe and adequate housing for their residents, particularly in rapid growing cities with limited affordable housing options. Even those with steady incomes are facing difficulties to purchase or rent affordable housing. Residential prices remain alarmingly high and out of proportion to income, forcing many people to spend more of their monthly income on housing. Our frontliners, like teachers, police officers, firefighters, and nurses, for example, cannot afford to live near the communities they serve. Therefore, it is important for us to look into this, as it is in line with the 11th UN SDG goal, which focuses on making cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. In supporting such need, the good news is that the sustainability journey in Malaysia began more than a decade ago. We have put in our efforts that savings are mobilized towards ESG and also sustainability-related activities, beginning with the launch of the GTFS, the Green Technology Funding Scheme, in 2010. Being a champion of sustainability, Malaysia has also adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Among the key priorities outlined include reducing greenhouse gas emissions, the GHG, to 45% of GDP by 2030, while providing long-term guidance on advancing green growth to implement clean, green, and resilient development agenda through the whole-of-nation approach. Towards this, the government has, among others, established the National SDG Council to provide leadership for the country's programs on SDG by empowering, intensifying, and tracking SDG programs nationwide. In addition, CASA, the Environment and Water Ministry, in collaboration with the Ministry of Finance and Bursa Malaysia, is in the midst of finalizing the carbon market framework by the end of this year. We will also table the bill on climate change to Parliament next year. Complementing all this, all our efforts to ensure national level coordination among all economic ministries and state governments to align on policies and encourage green growth through the Malaysian Climate Action Council. Our Honourable Prime Minister, our Yang Berhormat Prime Minister, also launched the National Energy Policy 2020 to 2040. I think that was last Monday, reaffirming Malaysia's commitment to a low-carbon energy transition through the promotion of green mobility, renewable energy, and hydrogen as our primary energy source. Through our whole-of-nation approach on sustainability, the government will continue efforts to ensure SDG elements are embedded in our annual budgets. We started this in Budget 2021, and I assure you that this will also be part of Budget 2023. Measures taken by the government to improve budget transparency and public involvement include the issuance of a pre-budget statement, as well as public consultation papers based on the government's priority areas for the year. To note, between the 6 public consultation papers issued for Budget 2023, 3 of them were ESG related. Our whole-of-nation approach towards a green transition and being carbon neutral by 2050 is guided by the MOF's 3R principles. First, it is about being responsive to the impact climate change has on people's livelihoods and welfare. Second, we must also be responsible in formulating policies that balances the needs of different stakeholders, particularly our people and small businesses, as we shift towards a greener economy. And third, we must be reformists in our policies that must address structural challenges while also facilitating a just transition towards sustainable development. Holistically, the transition and implementation of green practices across all sectors of the economy will require the deployment of significant resources, both financial and non-financial. While we have made significant inroads on our path to sustainability, more can and must be done. We urgently need to scale up efforts, support using innovative approaches, and this is where sustainable finance development in the financial sector will play a significant role. Ladies and gentlemen, at MOF, we recognize that green finance can truly be a catalyst to advance green development. A case in point is the issuance of the world's first sovereign US dollar sustainability sukuk by the government of Malaysia in April 2021 to the value of $800 million US, which was oversubscribed by 6.4 times across the world. The proceeds from the issuance were used to finance sustainability-related programs and projects. As announced in the 2022 budget, the government will issue up to 10 billion ringgit of sustainability sukuk denominated in ringgit, with proceeds similarly channeled to eligible social or environmentally friendly projects. In terms of operationalizing Malaysia's sustainability objectives, various efforts have begun through the MOF's ecosystem, including, first, the launch of the Enhanced Sustainable and Responsible Investment Link, or SRI Link, Sukuk Framework by Securities Commission. This was on 30th of June, to facilitate companies' issuance of SRI-linked Sukuk for transition towards low-carbon activities. Second, the effort by the Joint Committee on Climate Change, or what we call it JC3, co-chaired by Bank Negara and SC, to accelerate the financial sector's response to climate risk. Third, Bursa Malaysia has proposed changes to its listing requirements aimed at improving sustainability disclosures for listed companies across all sectors, following the recommendations of the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures, or TCFD, application guide for Malaysian financial institutions earlier this year. Fourth, MOF has also instituted policies and measures to empower SMEs to embrace sustainable and low carbon practices. These include measures such as 1 billion ringgit low carbon transition facility in the budget 2022. Expanding further, the GTFS has also been allocated 2 billion ringgit for the issuance of SRI, Sukuk and green bonds. Our government-linked investment companies, our JLICs too, Khazanah, EPF, PNB and Co-op, have clearly begun their respective sustainability journeys, particularly in terms of allocating more fund into sustainable assets and investments. But note that whether they are tax incentive, private sector incentive, or financing and investment facilities, what is key is to ensure that the transition towards sustainability will not disenfranchise the poor or systematically exclude the micro SMEs. If a greener house is on the market, is it financially accessible to lower income buyers? So if compliance costs are too high, small and micro businesses may eventually be pushed out of the market. A greener economy does not become synonymous with an exclusive club that can only be joined by those with resources to build the right capacity for compliance and periodic reporting of sustainable initiatives, as I mentioned earlier. Further, at another sustainability forum, which I spoke yesterday, I also mentioned that a just transition also demands that we seriously consider the potential loss of jobs through the operationalization of more eco-friendly production or manufacturing techniques. The financial and investment ecosystem also have a key responsibility to help the government address certain structural issues and generate balanced growth opportunities across all sizes of businesses and all segments of society. Otherwise, we might end up with unintended consequences that do not serve our sustainability and inclusivity agenda in the long run. To that end, I expect Cagamas and all industry players here to also play a key role in this space and become the catalyst to support not only the growth of green housing, but also the inclusivity agenda in Malaysia. Ladies and gentlemen, undoubtedly, embracing the sustainability agenda will take time, effort, and resources. Some of us may not even be able to see the benefits many decades down the road. However, we owe it to the next generation to build a more sustainable economy, and this is something that the government cannot do on its own. Lasting and sustainable progress can only be achieved when everyone across the public and private sectors rally behind a common sustainability vision. We also appreciate the continuous technical support from multilateral agencies such as the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank to help Malaysia achieve our sustainability goals. As Malaysia rebuilds itself post-pandemic, for the private sector, I'm confident that there are tremendous opportunities for everyone to consider a profit with a purpose journey and actively work on growing their stakeholders' capabilities in their respective ecosystems. So again, thank you for having me, and wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much, YB Senator. I'd like to invite YB Minister to remain on stage, as we are about to witness quite a historic event for green housing in Malaysia. Today, Cagamas and ADB will ink a technical assistance agreement with the overarching objective to identify challenges and constraints for scaling up inclusive and green residential mortgages in Malaysia, including the affordable housing segment and also housing outside urban centres in smaller cities. Please join me in welcoming the signatories of this historic agreement. First of all, Ms. Christine Angstrom, the Director of Private Sector Financial Institutions Division, Private Sector Operations Department of Asian Development Bank. Ms. Angstrom is joined by Yang Berbahagia, Datuk Chung Chi Leong, the President and CEO of Cagamas Berhad. And to join YB Minister to witness the signing, please welcome Yang Berbahagia, Datuk Seri Dr. Awang Adik Haji Hussein, Executive Chairman of Securities Commission Malaysia. Yang berbahagia Datuk Bakarudin Ishak, Chairman of Cagamas Berhad, and Mr. Alfredo Perdigero, Director of Regional Cooperation and Operations Coordination Division, Southeast Asia Department of the Asian Development Bank. So Dr. Engstrom, Datuk Chung Chilyong, the floor is yours. While they undertake the signing, allow me to lend a few insights into what we are seeing. One of the things that's going to come out of this is a research by ADB, and the findings from the research by ADB will produce knowledge on how the green mortgage market could be expanded, including to the B40 and M40 and also female-headed household segments. This can inform the issuance of a future Cagamas Green Bond or Sukuk to support these market segments. This, of course, is in line with Cagamas' aims to expand its green portfolio, and Malaysia indeed has the enabling environment in place. Right, members of the media, are we good? After this, we're going to have one more photo shoot, photo op without the table and chairs. They're going to quickly take out the table and chairs for you to have a cleaner shot, so to speak. Alright, thank you guys.
Ada kacau. Jabut dulu. Jabut. Dah sebut apa? Belum.
Members of the media, do you need them to squeeze in a bit more? Alright, squeeze in a bit more. No more social distancing rules, it's okay. Alright, one more last one between Ms. Engstrom and Yang Bahagia Datuk Chilyong. Don't mind for you to switch the documents and let the media practitioners have a shot of that. Alright, that's a good pose. Thank you. Round of applause again, ladies and gentlemen, please, for YB Senator, Tengku Seri, Tengku Zafrul, Tengku Aziz, Yang Bahagia Datuk Seri Dr. Awang Haji Hussein, Yang Berbahagia Datuk Bakarudin Ishak, Mr. Alfredo Perdigero, and of course, Ms. Christine Engstrom, and Yang Berbahagia Datuk Chung Chi.